you worried about?
Great to be here, by the way, so thank you. The thing I worry the most about, if you go, is Ukraine. It's oil, gas, so the leadership of the world, and our relationship with China. I mean, that is much more serious than the economic vibrations we all have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
On the Ukraine question, look, we talked about it a lot, obviously, a year ago, very shortly after the war had started. Do you think now, a year in, that the West has become sort of somewhat inured to the idea of a conflict of this scale on its borders? And if so, does that worry you?
Yeah, no, it looks a little bit like people are inured to it, but I think that's a little bit of a mistake. I read a report the other day that when a war goes to 1 year, it normally lasts 10. But this is a major land war in Europe, in a free and democratic nation, with hundreds of thousands of casualties already on both sides. And so I think we don't know how this is going to end. We don't know what direction it's going to take, and it's affecting global relationships. So Ukraine, Russia, then it's oil, gas, food, how it's hurting poor countries, and it's roiling trade relationships between America, China, and the rest of the world. So this is probably the most serious geopolitical thing we've had to deal with since World War II.
Do you foresee a future where JPMorgan could potentially re-enter the Russian market as a business?
I mean, I'm very premature to say. I think if there was one day, maybe, but it's very possible that won't happen in our lifetime.
And you mentioned U.S.-China relations, obviously not at their best right now, particularly post the balloons. I wonder what role you see business playing in trying to sort of moderate those relations and try and keep them as good as possible.
Yeah. Well, it's really the government. The government has to set the rules and figure out what they want to do. And I think it's a fair complaint about government and business that we probably should have started resetting this 10 years ago. And we didn't. I don't like a crier with spilled milk and all that. But going forward, the government, and I think they're doing a good job thinking through what is national security. So think of semiconductors, rare earths, penicillin, certain drugs. What is unfair trade? And then, at one point, sit down and have a very serious conversation with the Chinese government. Remember, Secretary Blinken was on his way over there to do that, and then the balloon. But at one point, they'll do that, and business is a peripheral player in that. So I think business will help give advice on how to do things. If you're going to have outbound investment controls, how do you set that way that works? That's not just a huge bureaucracy. And so far, all the conversations have been quite rational about it.
I mean, JPMorgan obviously has a significant business in China. I'm sure that the government there would listen to you. What are the conversations you have just about sort of trying to, as I say, trying to maintain as cordial relations as possible between the two nations?
I mean, for us, we're there, and like I said, we're basically taking a back seat to an American government in this one, and we obviously have to do whatever the American government asks us to do, and we're trying to engage in a conversation with our own government and with the Chinese government on what those things should be. I'm hoping cooler heads prevail here, but this is why Ukraine is so important. This can cause it to go in a bad direction rather quickly, so everyone's got to be a little cautious.